My name is Kathy, a 40-year-old office worker specializing in clerical work. I live with my husband, Bob, who is 3 years my senior and also works at the same company. Despite our 10-year marriage, we do not have children. I felt a pressing urgency to start a family right from the outset when we married at the age of 30. Both of us harbored the desire for children, though my biological clock ticked louder than Bob's. I believed my limit was 35, wanting to navigate childbirth and parenthood while I still had ample energy, despite not being particularly robust physically. However, my wish remained unfulfilled. Bob and I began trying for a baby immediately after our wedding, but months passed with no signs of pregnancy. Eventually, we sought testing at an obstetrics and gynecology clinic. The results revealed some challenges on my end that made conception difficult. While not impossible, the odds were discouragingly low. Bob's disappointment was palpable as he questioned, "Can I become a father?" Seeing him so crestfallen left me speechless. We persisted in our efforts to conceive, clinging to a slim hope. But ultimately, a child did not come to us. Trying to uplift my despondent husband, I offered, "It's not the end of the world. Let's cherish our life together as a couple." He nodded in resignation, replying, "Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. Let's just take things as they come." However, over time, I noticed a change in Bob. During our walks around town, seeing families with children would prompt him to muse, if we had a child, would we be enjoying outings like that on weekends? Visiting a colleague's home where kids were present, he would comment wistfully, "You're fortunate to have children." His envy apparent, I began to wonder if deep down he couldn't let go of the idea of having a child, and his longing made me uneasy. Then Bob began to grow distant from me. When we were actively trying to conceive, he had been incredibly supportive, often reminding me not to overexert myself, fearing it might affect our chances of pregnancy. He eagerly took on household chores and heavy lifting, always insisting, "I'll handle that," with a caring attitude. On weekends, he willingly shouldered the household responsibilities, reasoning, "You manage during the week." However, once we learned of my difficulty conceiving, everything changed. He abruptly stopped helping around the house, claiming, "I'm tired." Household chores are a wife's duty, aren't they? He spent his weekends idling, either sleeping or absorbed in his smartphone. Suddenly burdened with more tasks, my health began to decline. When I fell ill, his response was callous, "Figure it out yourself." I felt powerless to confront him because, in truth, my infertility was the root of our struggles. I began contemplating divorce. Just as I was grappling with these issues, Bob received a transfer offer. He had been selected for a major project at a subsidiary across state lines, prompting his relocation. Naturally, assuming I would accompany him, I was surprised when he declared, "You needn't come. I'll go alone." Those words gave me pause. Perhaps his distance and coldness stemmed from frustration over our inability to have children. Separating temporarily might help him sort through his emotions, and we could possibly mend our relationship. Reluctantly, I agreed, saying, "All right, I'll stay here. Take care." I saw him off after his transfer. He returned home only about once a month, often leaving again soon after. While this became routine, I cherished those brief visits, believing that if he truly disliked me, he wouldn't bother to return. As time passed, Bob gradually began to change. Initially unchanged, he eventually softened. He started bringing me gifts, saying, "I picked this up for you. Enjoy." Despite his limited time, he accompanied me on shopping trips and checked in on me, asking, "Are you all right? Is something bothering you?" I began to believe he was reverting to his former caring self. Initially slated for a 1-year assignment, Bob ended up staying for 2 years due to project delays. By the second year, he ceased mentioning our inability to have children. When we encountered families with children, he no longer expressed bitterness but instead remarked, "We couldn't have children together, but I've made peace with it." I felt a wave of relief knowing he had come to terms with our situation. 2 years later, he completed his work assignment and returned home to me. "Welcome back. You must be exhausted." I greeted him. "I'm finally home. Now we can be together," he replied with calmness. Yet our peaceful reunion was short-lived. Upon his return, he approached me with surprising news. "There's a young relative in my family who had a baby before marriage. She feels unable to raise the child alone due to her age. Would you consider adopting the baby?" His proposal caught me off guard. "What's going on?" I asked in bewilderment. He explained, "Since we couldn't have our own child, I thought adopting this baby and raising it as our own could be a solution." Overwhelmed by this sudden request, I asked for time to think. But doubts nagged at me. We had little contact with his family, exchanging Christmas cards once a year. Without a wedding ceremony, I knew little of his relatives. Reluctant to adopt a child from mere strangers, I requested, could I meet the child's parents? I'd like to understand their situation better. He adamantly refused, asking, why does it matter who they are? Why this sudden interest? Sensing his defensiveness, I insisted on knowing more about the child's background and the father's whereabouts. He grew defensive, snapping, the father abandoned them. Okay, stop prying into their lives. It's about helping the child in need. His reaction unsettled me. Then he exploded, enough. If you won't agree to this, it's over between us. Leave right now. In his outburst, I sensed his true motive. He prioritized having a child at any cost, disregarding my feelings entirely. It was clear where I stood in his priorities, and I realized I had reached my breaking point. Okay, I'll gather my things and go, I stated calmly. Swiftly, I packed my belongings and left our home that very day. With nowhere else to go, I sought refuge in a motel near the train station. The divorce proceedings with my husband proceeded smoothly. We resolved everything through our respective lawyers to prevent any conflicts, settling matters like alimony, property division, and other issues without incident. Feeling uncomfortable working at the same company as him, I made the decision to resign and secured a new job elsewhere. With proficiency in computer skills and administrative assistant certifications, I secured a position at a small law firm. Adjusting to my new workplace took some time, but I soon settled into a routine and found peace in my daily life. Having lived apart from my husband for 2 years, returning to an empty home had become my norm. One day, about a year into my new job, my ex-husband unexpectedly appeared at my workplace, holding a small child. Surprised to see me at the reception, he blurted out, "What are you doing here?" Clearly taken aback. "I work here. Why wouldn't I be?" I replied, puzzled. His face drained of color. Curious about the child he held, I guided him to meet with my supervising attorney, where a startling revelation unfolded. "Sir, I've had doubts since this child was born a year ago. I don't believe he's biologically mine," he confessed. Understanding the gravity of the situation, I asked, "If it's confirmed that the child isn't yours, what do you intend to do?" "I'll seek a divorce from my wife," he asserted. Legally, paternity disputes typically need to be raised within a year of the child's birth. Even if a DNA test proves the child isn't yours, you may still be obligated to pay child support, the attorney explained calmly. "What? That's absurd," he exclaimed. "It's a legal reality supported by Supreme Court precedents," the attorney affirmed. As a clerk, I diligently recorded their conversation, and during my work, a realization dawned on me. My ex-husband had cheated during our marriage and fathered a child from that affair. Judging by the child's age and the timeline, it was evident the child was conceived around a year after he returned from a business trip. His uncharacteristic kindness towards me since that time suddenly made sense. I suspected it was guilt-driven. It seemed his current wife was a younger colleague from his workplace. Each time he spoke, his gaze towards me betrayed a hint of pallor, understandably so, as his former wife, with whom he attempted to leave for the child born of his affair, was now right before him. In the end, he conceded, "Fine, I'll undergo a DNA test first and then reconsider." With those words, he left, visibly crestfallen. Later that day, I confided in my lawyer, Mr. Williams, about the return of my ex-husband and our past divorce. Mr. Williams seemed taken aback and inquired, "Did you know you can claim alimony due to infidelity within 2 years of discovery? What are your intentions?" "Absolutely, I want to pursue it. I intend to claim it from both my ex-husband and his mistress," I affirmed. "Then let's initiate the process immediately. Thank you for your trust," Mr. Williams responded. Subsequently, through Mr. Williams, I pursued alimony claims against both my ex-husband and his current wife, formerly his mistress, ensuring they couldn't evade their financial responsibilities. I directed the claims not only to their residence but also to their workplaces and his in-laws' address. Soon after, I received a call from my ex-husband. "What's this claim about?" he demanded. "It's an alimony claim based on your infidelity. We're already divorced, but that doesn't exempt you from financial obligations," I asserted firmly. "That's incorrect. You can claim alimony for infidelity within 2 years of its discovery. We finalized our divorce a year ago, and your infidelity has only recently come to light." so the falls well within the claim period. At that moment, a woman's voice I didn't recognize intervened and took over the phone. Hello? What's this claim about? She demanded. Caught off guard by her sudden confrontation, I asked cautiously, who am I speaking with? I'm his wife. Withdraw at least my part of this claim, she'd insisted firmly. But claiming alimony is a natural step after being betrayed, I countered. Listen, he told me he was single. I believed him and started a relationship. I had no idea he was married at the time, she argued defensively. That doesn't change the fact that you had an affair with my husband, I retorted. I'm demanding $20,000 from each of you. Our child will need financial support as they grow, she insisted. We can't afford such a large amount of $40,000. I responded. That's not my concern. You both work and he holds a decently high position, so I don't see a financial issue, she shot back. Because of your claim, he's been demoted and had his pay reduced. I've also been downgraded to part-time, causing a drop in our income. We simply can't manage to pay such a sum, I exclaimed, my voice rising with frustration. Then ask your parents to cover it. I won't back down. I absolutely won't pay, she insisted firmly. Amidst her raised voice, he returned to the phone. I understand the financial strain this claim may cause, but I cannot withdraw it, I asserted firmly. By the way, let me share something significant while we're on this topic, I continued. What is it? He asked with evident curiosity. Do you recall we underwent fertility testing a few years ago? I queried. Yes, I remember. It revealed I had an issue, but you also had a problem, he recalled. You might find this surprising, but the test results actually indicated that both of us had fertility issues, I revealed calmly. You're joking, right? He responded incredulously. It's true. Although I had a known issue, the results showed you had one too. I chose not to disclose this to spare you at the time, but I still have the test report. Would you like me to send it to you? I offered sincerely. No, that can't be true. It's impossible, he protested, clearly taken aback. The doctor explained that both of us faced challenges, not just me. When you heard about my issue, you left the office abruptly before hearing the full details, I clarified. That's a lie. It must be a lie, he muttered, evidently overwhelmed. In reality, the doctor confirmed there were significant challenges on both our sides. I had intended to keep this to myself, but I see no reason to hide it now, I concluded firmly. I told him, let's leave it there, I'm busy, and hung up the phone. Afterwards, I successfully secured a total of $20,000 from each of them for emotional distress, $40,000 in total. She refused to pay, leaving Bob to shoulder the entire burden. Later on, Bob did arrange for a DNA test for the child, confirming his fears that the child wasn't his. It seemed he contemplated divorcing his wife, but with impending child support and emotional distress payments, he felt compelled to remain in the strained marriage with his former affair partner. Financial constraints due to his demotion further tied his hands. I learned from him during his visit to pay the compensation that he hoped I would raise the child with his strong-willed affair partner. He confided that if he had custody, he planned to use it as an excuse to end their relationship. Recently, tensions have escalated in his household and work has become difficult amidst judgment from colleagues about their adulterous reputation. As for me, I've grown accustomed to my single life and enjoy a peaceful existence. I have plans for a trip with friends during the next long holiday. Despite being alone, my days are fulfilling with work and socializing.